like now more than ever, it's time for artists to take stock of what am I putting out there? And how is this shaping people? And do I feel like whatever it is that I'm doing, selling, however I'm presenting, if I genuinely knew that that was going to imprint on someone and become what they are or what they do, how would I feel about that? Would I feel good about that? Do I feel like I'm actually admitting and transferring good ideas, good values, and the things that I think are so important these days? You know, am I teaching empathy? Am I teaching understanding? Am I teaching interconnectedness? And I think that figuring that out comes kind of from figuring out your why.
Welcome to the Tea On, where we sip tea and we talk about things, preferably things that matter. Every time I have this show, another session, I try to talk about things that I think hold weight and that matter in our social climate and our political climate, whatever the case may be. And I think the conversation that I'm going to have today really falls in line with what it means to be human right now, especially in 2020. So I'm so excited, and I'm so excited to be having this conversation with somebody just as bright and as luminous as you, Miss Shayna Rose. And I'm definitely going to let you, and I say this every time, I'm going to let you introduce yourself. But I will say that you are just a woman of so many trades. I mean, like songwriting and producing and singing. But above all else, you also identify as like a social action artist, which is something that we're definitely going to dive into today. But I'll let you take the lead. Let the people know who you are.
Well, thank you. First of all, thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here and thrilled also to be talking about things that matter, because I think that that's so important. My name is Shayna Rose, and a lot of people know me from my starring role on Nickelodeon's hit music series, The Fresh Beat Band. I played the original Marina. But what a lot of people are starting to learn about me is that I'm also a songwriter and a producer. And I've been, singing, acting, dancing, performing since I was 8 years old. And I can't ever stop. It's just like, that's my life. I've done quite a bit of different things, a lot of variety throughout the entertainment industry. But the thing that I think keeps me in it is that I think creators have incredible influence socially and to sort of move culture. And that has sort of become my mission as an artist. And that's the majority of the work I'm trying to do now.
Yes, absolutely. And that honestly is like the most beautiful segue into the first question that I had, because I think that there's like a certain level of responsibility that I think is sort of starting to come with having a platform. And I think I'm seeing more and more artists step into that responsibility. So I wanted just to know your perspective on like the importance that playing a social role has when you are an influencer, when you do have a platform or, an audience.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it kind of comes down to a lot of basic psychology and sociology, right? Like when we watch people, and in particular when we admire people, it is our instinct to emulate them and to like recreate whatever it is that they're doing. We want to be like them. And so I think that, there's an incredible responsibility that, in the past, I've heard a lot of artists, whether it's performers, actors, singers, doesn't matter, they kind of shirked away from that in the past, right? Like, oh, I don't have a social responsibility. I'm really just here to entertain people.
Right.
But it's kind of like being in denial a little bit, I think, when I hear artists say that, because I'm like, but wait, like, look at all these little kids who are dressed like you and who act like you, and they're clearly emulating you. So there is a connection. We do have to somewhat be, I think, aware of that as influencers and as artists. Wow. I think like now more than ever, it's time for artists to take stock of what am I putting out there? And how is this shaping people? And do I feel like whatever it is that I'm doing, selling, however I'm presenting, if I genuinely knew that that was going to imprint on someone and become what they are or what they do, how would I feel about that? Would I feel good about that? Do I feel like I'm actually admitting and transferring good ideas, good values, And the things that I think are so important these days, am I teaching empathy? Am I teaching understanding? Am I teaching interconnectedness? And I think that figuring that out comes kind of from figuring out your why. So I could go even further, but I want to let you ask questions. So I don't want to dive into that necessarily yet. But yes, I think we have a tremendous responsibility.
Yes, absolutely. And I will circle back to the why thing, because I think that that's huge. But you brought up so many incredible points. And I think that more and more artists these days, I think it's sort of dawning on them that there is, like I said, that level of responsibility. And the thing about it is that I think that also entails being more human and being more vulnerable and showing more of themselves, which I think in just in pop culture, like maybe in the early 2000s and before, it was very much like this wall between the artist and their audience, and very much a facade. And I think right now, especially with social media, there's a humanizing thing that's happening, which I'm really grateful for. And I wanted your perspective on the idea that obviously with social media, I mean, media in general plays such a huge role in how kids, they'll mirror it and stuff. And so do you think that it's been helpful, or maybe perhaps that it's held us back? Because there are a lot of positive and negative components, I think, to social media. Of course, there's a lot of overstimulation that can happen and comparing yourself to false images, but then also a lot of awareness comes from it. So what's been your experience with that?
Oh gosh, well, like anything, it's a balance. Everything comes with goods and bads. Everything. There's nothing in that's the makeup of the universe, right? It's light and dark, and day and night, and
duality, honey. Yes.
Yeah, it's duality, exactly. So we're never going to escape that. Everything that's created is going to have some good aspects and some bad aspects, and it's our job to kind of find the happy medium between the two. But I mean, personally, for me, really, social media has been extremely difficult for me. Mm-hmm. I happen to really not be a fan of it, and it's actually been hard for me to sort of get involved and participate on a few levels. Yeah. One is I'm a highly sensitive person and an empath. So when I watch a lot of the things, right, that we're seeing, anytime, anything that I watch, even if it's a movie that I watch, it doesn't even have to be real. Just when we talk about media in a broad scope, I'm very affected by that. So I try to stay away from a lot of violent movies or a lot of dark movies or anything that I feel sort of clouds my ability to just move forward each day with optimism and positivity. I try to be a guardian of my spirit and of my mind, right? And so I think on social media, that's something we all have to be aware of. You have to be a guardian of yourself and know how much can you take, how much can you handle, and how much do you have to pull back, and each person has to make that individual choice for themselves. But then I think there's the other side of it, which is we have such an ability, you're right, to show vulnerability, to show authenticity, to show the truth of what's going on in the world around us, to bring to light things that maybe people don't know, are happening or aren't aware of. And I think that social media and those platforms, where would we be in a sense without that?
Totally.
Right? Too much would still be in the dark and a secret. Yeah. So yeah, I try to just educate myself. I take myself through a little process when I'm watching something, no matter what it is, no matter what. I'm who's making this? Why are they making it?
Right.
How are they benefiting from it? And what am I really gaining from this? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Right? And if I can take myself through that little checklist and I feel good about it, okay, then I'll decide, okay, I'm going to watch this documentary, or I'm going to follow this person on social media, or I'm going to listen to this artist. But I pause for a minute first, and I make sure that it's in line with what I feel is going to be good for me and for the world. And if it's not, I kind of just block it out, because I feel that's power. There's power in being no, I'm not following this. I'm not watching this.
Absolutely. We don't realize the control that we have over what we're consuming. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Totally. Especially with social media. I mean, you can choose who you follow and you can choose what you're consuming. You're so emotionally intelligent, which is incredible, because I think a lot of people should see this and know that, I don't know, it is so empowering, like you said, to know that you have that, you know what I mean? It's your own thing. And you brought up being an empath, which I deeply identify with. And, you know, one of the questions that I had for you was if there were any internal or external obstacles that you had to overcome when embracing this like authenticity on your platform. But I would imagine that, you know, being an empath is one of those things, you know.
Yes. Well, I mean, I feel like my story, and most of us, I don't know, you know, maybe some people are so blessed they've had no obstacles.
Really?
I don't know if they are. Call me. If you had no obstacles, call me. I want to know your secret.
Totally.
No, but I feel like, yes, I've had to overcome a lot of obstacles in my life. I mean, the first was that I grew up in a really conservative, very religious family, where self-expression was not necessarily championed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was about following the rules. It was about fitting in. It was about doing what you were supposed to do.
Right.
And so I think that, you know, the road to like figuring out why I was even so sensitive, or that I was an artist, or all the things that were going on with me, took a lot longer than maybe some other people. I feel like I'm only just fully stepping into it now,
Right.
my 30s, because I, you know, it's just taken me a really long time to realize, like, oh, I could just be me, and like it's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
You know, but I was really bullied as a kid, very badly. I really never fit in. I just had a lot of the negative outside influence in my life, just telling me I wasn't going to be capable. I wasn't going to be able to do the things that I wanted to do. I wasn't going to be able to accomplish things. That was for other people. You know, that was for other people who have whatever, money or connections, right, or just the right upbringing, but not for me. So when I moved to LA at 18, I didn't know a single person. And I had to just figure out everything on my own, and, you know, how to network, how to find the path to success. Like, it was just all me, just out there pounding the pavement, trying to learn.
Right, right.
You know, and then it's, you know, it's interesting because then even sort of after having success, then several years ago, I went through like a really terrible divorce. And that really felt like, oh, this is the end of me. And I'm never going to be able to recover from this. And it kind of wiped out everything that I had worked for, you know, from that time I moved to LA at 18 until that moment. It was like, it took away jobs. It took away my home. It took away my community. It took away, you know, so many things. And again, I was like, oh my gosh, how am I going to channel this? And I just keep putting it back into art, honestly. And the sensitivity part, the empathy part, I've had to learn how to almost hone that and harness it like a superpower. Right? Where you're like, okay, well, this sensitivity is really great, but not if it breaks me down to the point where I'm not functional or I'm not helping people, which happened to me all the time. I would just like sink into these really terrible, deep, deep depressions where I just felt like I can't even face the world. It was too hard on me. It just felt like way too much. And then I kind of started a lot of a self-help journey, therapy. And even now I'm like really getting into Tony Robbins, and I've read so many books on neurosculpting and, you know, shaping the mind, rewiring the mind, to where I'm realizing, oh, I just need to take this sensitivity, this empathy superpower, and I need to be able to learn how to, what's the X-Men character that has the laser eyes? I always akin it to that. Whatever his name is.
Even in my head, yeah.
Anyway, you know, it's like, okay, I've got this crazy power and I've got to put on the right glasses.
Right.
So that I target that stuff in a way like I am my art now, where I'm like, okay, I know I'm passionate about this. So rather than it being debilitating where I can't get out of bed, let me write a song about it. Let me help someone with it.
Right.
Let me teach about it, right? So it's like channeling those obstacles, what we've overcome, the lessons and our gifts, really into helping other people.
Oh, 100%.
The breakthrough.
Yes, and so much of our life experience is a product of how we choose to perceive it. You know what I mean? So like, when you have like that dark night of the soul moment that you've gone through, I think you really were able to sort of, in any form, just like reconnect with what your mission was. Because I think through healing through your art, you're healing yourself, and that's incredible. And I'm sure, because like you said, you got bullied when you were younger. I would imagine that with having a younger audience and being able to work with kids, maybe doing that inner child healing helped heal them and vice versa, you know what I mean? Which also, another segue, leads me to the question that being on Nickelodeon and having a younger audience watching you, is there something specific that you really want to convey to this younger generation? Because I think that they are unlike any generation that has been here and that is to come, and I have this like weird protection over them that I want to, especially because they're walking into like a world of social media and a world of digital age, and so yeah, is there anything specific with so many kids watching you that you really want them to take from your story and your art?
Yeah, I mean, I've sorry, I don't know that there's a phone going off behind
No,
me.
don't worry.
Not even mine. So there you go.
Mercury's in retrograde, nothing.
There you go. You can always blame Mercury in retrograde.
Always.
So, I think the thing I want to convey the most, honestly, is about authenticity and is about being yourself.
Yes.
Because I think that, I remember when the app Facetune came out. And there were just like sponsored ads for it everywhere. And I felt immediately terrified because I thought, wow, this is reinforcing the idea that you're not good enough the way you are. And I think more than any other time before, you're right. We have this beautiful generation who they really want acceptance and love. They have a greater understanding for each other, I think, and a greater acceptance of each other than any generation before them.
Yes.
And yet, at the same time, I think they're being bombarded with messages more than any other generation.
Absolutely.
Before, right? Of you need to be popular. You need to have all these followers. Yeah. You need to look a certain way. You need to be a certain way. You need to present a certain way. And I think I would just encourage them, take a page from a girl who grew up in the 90s. There's something so great about stick it to the man, be yourself, be fully authentic. Who cares if you're popular? It doesn't mean be a jerk and have people not like you, but it means be fully yourself.
Yeah.
Be fully, if you're an artist and you want to dye your hair pink and wear crazy makeup and wear crazy clothes, do that. If you're a science nerd and you love getting in a lab or doing experiments and whatever, fly that flag. I think we're afraid to be ourselves because we're posturing always, looking around, what's everybody else doing?
Right. Preparing yourself for that.
Yeah, and I would just give this generation this, I would wave my magic wand and be you can just drop all that and just be you. And don't worry about the numbers or the face tuning or any of that stuff. Just be yourself.
Absolutely. Yes. That resonates so deeply. It's our superpower, really. And aside from talking about it and using your platform to speak up, you teach that by standing in your own authenticity, which is what you are doing. So I just want to thank you for that and encourage any other artist who's watching this. Standing in your authenticity gives permission for anybody who's watching you to do the same. And that's I think how we will heal communally. But I do want to circle back to what you were saying about the why and what an artist's why is and how that is sort of what drives them. What is your why? What is it that you really want to change about the world?
So my why is genuinely getting to this deeper emotional place with people where they feel like they can make changes in their life.
Yeah.
And especially with young people, I think that I want them, kind of like we were talking about earlier about perception, right? How your perception can change reality. That if you can start, the younger you can start, where you're wow, my mind is going to shape everything. My mindset's going to shape my story and what I am able to accomplish in my life and how I see everything that happens to me. So I think my why has really become, let's rewire together. Let's really look at things authentically together and figure out how can we see this differently. So a lot of the music that I'm making now is, I always think about what is the honesty in this message? What's the honesty in this song that if somebody actually took a minute and sat down and read the lyrics, they would be like, oh, okay, I really see how she's trying to wake me up to something, or how she's waking up to something, or how I could maybe see this situation differently. So I never, ever, ever almost anymore sit down and write a song that's just about like, oh, hey, so like, let's write this cool party song, or let's write this like summer song, or like, that's not me. I'm not that artist. I think that has its place. I'm just not good at that, because I'm like, but I don't really have a reason to make that song. So I don't feel like I'm giving anything, right?
Right.
So I think as artists, like, we have to like really dig down to that why, like deeper and deeper and deeper. And I think at the very, very core of me, I don't want people to feel pain. Like, I felt so much pain in my life being such a sensitive person. And I think I want people to either hear a painful song and relate so that it alleviates some of their pain, or want them to hear a joyous song and be elevated and have a moment, a break from that pain. But I think everything at the core is me just being like, let's get out of pain. Let's have more love and peace with each other. You know, let's make the world a better place. And that's become my whole why.
Yeah, and you're doing it boldly and unapologetically, which...
Trying my best.
Yes, and that, I mean, I don't know whoever's watching this when they're watching it, but if you're watching it soon, then you'll know that right now we're what I think to be like just a revolution. We're in the middle of a civil rights revolution, amidst many other things, a global awakening, I'm hoping. And so I think we all sort of have a duty as a human to play our role in this revolution. And, you know, for many people, that's a physical role, it's a financial role, it's an emotionally supportive role. You know, for me, I think it's really important that I use my voice and I use my platform, and that's my role. And for you, it's a combination of all those things, but B, just like your art is really, really, really going to help heal and push us forward into this place that I hope that we are going towards, of like love and acceptance and unity and compassion for ourselves and each other. So I'm so grateful for that and to see it. And I do want to know more about what you're working on, or what it is that, you know, you want people to know that is next from Shayna Rose.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm going to be releasing a single called Someone Loves You in the next couple of months, and there's going to be a video that goes along with it, with a bunch of fans that have sent in footage that I'll be, you know, cutting into it. And again, it came out of what we're talking about. It was like, wow, we're having this crazy global pandemic, and people are feeling so isolated, and some so lonely. And, you know, I've got friends losing jobs. You know, people are financially in a very, very bad situation. I have so many young friends, because I actually do have a lot of kid friends from, you know, just everything that I do. And they're sad that they can't go to school. They're sad they can't see their friends. I mean, this has been really hard on people.
So difficult.
And so I wrote this song as like a tribute to, you know, just get back to what matters, which is that somebody loves you. And even if that somebody is me, and you feel like it's nobody else, you know, I'm that someone who loves you. But that we get distracted again by like all of the things sometimes, like this idea that, again, we need to be popular or successful or rich or famous or whatever it is. And it's like, that's not what counts. At the end of the day, what counts is love and relationships. Yeah. And I think you're right. The awakening that we're having right now, this global awakening, is like, oh, we all just have to get connected again. And right, like, and care about each other. And so like that's what this song is about. So I'm super excited to be putting that out. And then just in general, on my Instagram account, I'm just trying to now essentially perform and release music, even if it's not streaming, but right there on my Instagram. And my account is @the_Shayna_Rose. Mm-hmm. And you know, when the protests started and whatever, I was like, okay, this, like you were saying, okay, what am I gonna do? how am I going to get my voice out there? What am I going to say?
Right.
So I released a bunch of songs, you know, just right on Instagram, live performances. I didn't want to wait to have to upload on Spotify, none of that garbage. I was just like, let's get this out now, you know, so that people know I'm supporting these movements and supporting these things. So yeah, a lot of what I'm going to be doing is just going to be on my Instagram account.
Right.
You know, releasing these songs and putting out these messages and doing things like this. Like, I have one post on my Instagram that's just a call to action for artists. Like, guys, get out there, use your voice, use your platform, make stuff, like push the, you know, let's get Black Lives Matter. We need to keep the momentum going. Use your art to keep this momentum going. Like, let's go, let's go, let's go. So that's where I'm going to be and what I'm going to be doing in the next, you know, at least till the end of the year.
Yes, and thank you for that vigor, because I mean, like you said, of course, you know, like this song that's coming out is going to be so healing and it's going to be so unifying. But there are a lot of eyes on your Instagram, and I mean, when I was going through it, I was just like, it was so empowering to see you just be so fiery in the way you were like, hello, like this is a moment. And you know, I think right now, it's a lot of people who are stepping into their power as influencers. This could be a whole other interview, and I'll probably do an interview on this, honestly, but there's like this method of like toxic positivity of like, it's okay, guys, because love and light. And like, it really it matters to me that you're like, yes, love is rooted in all of this, but also like shit is going down. So
yeah. Maybe it's like the fiery redhead or something in me, but I'm like, people, do something, let's do something, you know? Because, you know, I'm a super action-oriented person.
Right.
So you're right. Like, love and light is beautiful, and I do believe that like emitting positive healing energy to people is so important. But like, come on, when you think about it, like when we think about it on a micro scale, like with our friends, like if we really have some things going on, what do we want our friends to do? We want them to show up. We don't just want them to send us a text being like, oh, sorry, this is happening to you, love and light. Like, no, we're like, we want you to come over. We want you to take us out for a coffee. We want you to have a conversation with us. We want you to back us up. We want you to, you know, whatever it is, but we want like real action. So I think that that's why you're right. That's kind of like toxic or annoys people, because it's like, oh, come on, man. Like, show up, you know, show up. So I think that's kind of the difference. And it's right now, it's time to show up.
Absolutely. Just like, I mean, like we were saying earlier about how real healing and just like growth and purpose comes from those dark moments and comes from that suffering. I think that real love and light and healing comes from when we are passionate and when we have that drive, when we embrace the struggles and the sadness that we are all to some degree experiencing right now. So yeah, it's so powerful that you are really stepping up to the plate and using your platform and using your art. And I just can't be, I feel like I'm speaking for the collective and everyone that's watching you when I say that I'm so grateful for it. And thank you for doing it and being you. And also just thank you for sitting down with me today and even extending your voice even further. Because it really means the world. And there's a lot of
So my pleasure. So my pleasure.
Absolutely. So are there any last final things that you want to say? Anything that you want the people to know? Anything that you want to add in?
No. I think my last final message, I guess, if I had to leave you with something, is that, you know, change starts right here. And again, I think that because we do have access to so many people and social media and all these things, we want to make change about it being out there. You know, it's about someone else or some group or some whatever, but really it's right here. And we have to find the places in our own life, in our own relationships, and our own families, and even with ourselves, where when we are targeting others for their lack of kindness or understanding, you know, find in yourself, where are you lacking kindness? Where are you lacking understanding? And because really, if we all did that, if each one of us was like, where can I change? Where can I bring my best? That's when we're going to see that global collective shifts that you're talking about. And I can't wait. I hope that it happens. And I'm trying to look at myself right now so deeply, so many ways around, you know, privilege and, you know, things I've experienced and where I've come from and how can I help and what can I change? What do I need to keep opening my eyes to?
Right.
And I think that's the answer right here. That's it.
Yeah.
That's what I got. That's what I got for you.
And that's incredible. Yes, be the change that you want to see. So yes, absolutely. Thank you for standing in your power, for pursuing your purpose. I encourage anybody who's watching this, if you feel like you have a soul mission on this earth, please follow it boldly and unapologetically and just be your authentic self. I think that was like the all-encompassing lesson of this whole conversation.
Yes.
So thank you, Miss Shayna. You are radiant and incredible. And thank you to anyone who's watching. And you can follow me on Instagram at Jazmin Kylene, lalialuna.tv, sign up for my newsletter, and yeah, that's all. Love to everyone.